So I'm going to talk about some meanings of the term Gong, because when you think of Qigong, Nei Gong, Gong Fu, or Kung Fu, that word Gong keeps coming up, right? So what does that word actually mean? And it means a lot. So in one sense, when we think of Qigong or Gong Fu or things like that, the word Gong implies obviously the fact that you're training or you've been trained, or what you're training in is a system of practice, so that it's a bit predictable in the sense of what you're going to be doing and how it goes, because that's what the Gong of Qigong is, or the Gong of Kung Fu is, and they're maybe kind of different. And Nei Gong, again, the stuff that's happening, that we don't see, the Gong means the same, but what you might be doing in that relationship, in the sense of training, would be different. There's an aspect of that character in Chinese thought and language that isn't just about the training, though. It's about this idea that what you're doing has ethical merit or a meritorious act. And we have this, I guess, analogy or something in Western culture of helping the elder across the street with her groceries, right? So you're doing a thing, but you're doing a thing that has an ethical, meritorious, idea. And in Chinese culture, that means maybe a lot more karmically, you could say, um, than it does today. But it asks us: are you training to just get something, or are you training to also refine your innate capacity to be an ethical, well, let's just say not a jerk? Because especially if you're going to go into meditation, you don't kind of want to be a jerk about who's doing that and what it's going to be like. And this idea of training and merit together also brings our awareness to things like people who commit to service, like clinicians and the police and maybe the army and things like that. Although, I mean, we could all talk about whether or not those things are truly ethical in every possible way. But it does imply a kind of sense of service, to solve problems by helping. And there's something about that that's sort of heroic, because we're going out of our way to make a difference because it means something, not just because we're strong and powerful. So Gong means like all of that stuff. It can mean just being skillful or a specific skill. Like if you're juggling chainsaws in Canada, that's a pretty powerful skill to have, and that would be a specific kind of backwoods gong, if you can picture that. In a more experiential context, it describes how we move, how we breathe, how we maybe become more aware of ourselves. It can even, I think, from a therapeutic point of view, it even describes kind of how we think and how we talk to ourselves, and how that brings us into the state of being we experience, day by day, because of what we decide to do, with our Gong. Gong also can mean capacity or competency, in the sense, you have developed a toolbox and you can apply that toolbox to the world in the way that actually makes the world better. And maybe that's only for 5 seconds in the middle of a mugging, and maybe it's something a lot more nuanced or subtle. And that can also mean a capacitor in a way. And I'll speak to the idea of a capacitor as Gong when we talk about meridians in a few minutes. So we were talking also earlier about kind of the evolutionary aspect of this. And this is a weird thing about training in old traditions, is it's very easy to just mimic the tradition, mimic the culture, mimic the practice. But Gong also implies that what we're doing is relevant now and now. Oh, and now, in the sense of being very spontaneous, very connected, and you could say contemporary. So if all of our Gong, our Qigong, our Nei Gong, our Gong Fu isn't up to the kind of modern context, then it is going to just be, look at what people used to do, when they were dressed up in certain clothes, swinging certain kind of weapons around their head or something. And that's sort of what is happening to a lot of old traditional martial arts nowadays, with MMA taking over what people think of as sort of how violence looks, because now it's the rules have changed, because there's no rules or almost no rules in that sense, right? So different kinds of Gong can look differently depending on what we're getting into. Now, we're thinking about practicing Nei Gong, Gong Fu, and things like that. I would ask each of us to take a moment and consider the meaning of the classic hero's journey. There's the Joseph Campbell work, the I can't remember all the details of that, but he got quite into the idea of the hero's journey from a psychology point of view or a therapeutic point of view. We have the Carlos Castaneda kind of journey in the shamanic sense of being heroic and going through all kinds of rites of passage and mind-blowing things and stuff like that, which nowadays we can do with, if you happen to live in a city where they bring in hallucinogens and psychedelics and things like ayahuasca and huachuma and peyote and things. Most of us are probably familiar with magic mushrooms and stuff. And when you're in that kind of suddenly expanded or chaotic consciousness, it's a hero's journey to get through that and not lose your shit, or take it in some egoic way, and turn it into something about you instead of about the nature of what it is to be anyone. So there's an aspect of this that, if I had background music, this would be the moment where like, la, because it's this hero's journey that we're all going to be on, because sitting and facing your conditioned awareness with conditioned awareness until there's enough attrition to the conditioning that you're actually experiencing awareness, that's going to be one of the hardest things any of us ever does, because we have to let go of our assumptions of self bit by bit. But you can't just do it all at once, at least in a meditation context, because you can't let go of all of you at once and still be the one meditating. All right. So one other context of Gong that I think is important, especially in the New Age kind of, when people are just throwing together traditions and making stuff up and all of that. Gong also implies that you've, in Chinese cultural context, you've learned this in a lineage, you've learned this in a system of practice that goes back to maybe a village or a specific martial art or a specific monastery or even religion in some way. And if that's a part of this, and it definitely is for what I'm teaching, because I'm coming from a traditional background, we want to focus on using practices and techniques and approaches that have been tried and true and tested for a very long time, which means we can't just sit there and make up what Nei Gong is. We can't make up how meridian systems and dantians work. We can't just make stuff up. And unfortunately, that's probably the first thing you're going to find when you look into these things on the internet. You're just going to find the person with the best marketing and the best website, person figuring out SEO stuff or how search engines work. So unfortunately, with modern life trying to track these things down, we often go through 2 or 3 kind of modern new age made up things before you might find people who are training and teaching in lineages that predate communist China, if not go back thousands of years, or at least hundreds of years. So I'm going to bring this to another little experiential opportunity, because the proof is in the proof, I guess. Or in the perception. So there's a really interesting, I guess you could call it a visualization, or maybe a little bit of a journey to go on. And it only takes about 5 minutes, but